All right, it is now 5:30. This is obviously an odd situation. Hopefully everybody makes the best of it. First order of business tonight, the approval of minutes. Anybody have any questions there?
None.
I move to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, minutes are approved. The warrant ordinance, the payables for this month, any questions there?
What was different on the email?
It's up to 79,000. What's the difference?
What
There's
was different on the email that you sent us?
the Ion. Actually, it's laying on my desk in the back room. Ionware. Mary, go sit in front of my computer when you say that. Hang on one second, guys. You gotta be sitting in front of my
Oh, I see it. The computer cable.
computer.
It's the Ionware added $225 to it.
You added $225 to the Ionware is the only difference. Any further questions? Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Who made the motion?
Dustin.
Dustin, okay.
If I get this wrong, please correct me. All right, any additions to the agenda tonight?
Yeah. What about the pool for the year? Closing it or leaving it open?
We can talk about that down in mayor's comments.
And Brad
Okay.
said he can talk about it.
Okay, that's fine too.
Okay, that's the only one I was thinking of.
Anybody else? Motion to approve the agenda.
Me.
I move to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Ryan and then Zach. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Agenda is approved. All right, Mike.
Hold on, did we lose Dustin?
Just said he had poor bandwidth.
Yeah, because he looks like he's frozen.
Yeah,
Okay, hold on.
text him.
Yeah.
I can do that real quick.
Guess what? My phone's in the other room.
I'll do it.
Mike, do you want to go ahead and start on your?
Yeah, are you ready for me here?
I think so.
He says
Okay.
he can still hear us, but we can't hear him.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and we can catch up if he's able to get back on, or if he can hear us, that's great. So, well, last Thursday we had the bid opening for part 1 and part 2 of the water project. Part 1 was all the water line work, and then part 2 was the water tower. And that was actually the first remote bid that EVH has done, as far as I know. And the feedback I've got is it's all been positive. People like to be able to get on there and watch the video of the bid opening, or at least call in. So we've got a few tweaks, but maybe something we explore further into the future or for upcoming bid openings. But the good news is we got exceptional bids on both part 1 and part 2. Do you guys all have copies of the bid tabs with all the prices listed out for the 2 parts?
I'll email them tomorrow.
Okay. Those are available, but just to summarize, I'll go on part 1 right now. We had, let me get zoomed in here. we had bids submitted on part 1 from 6 contractors: APAC, Middle Creek, J Corp, Midlands Contracting, Smoky Hill Construction, and Nowak Construction. Those are all reputable contractors that I've worked for. And the price range, with the option of upsizing the line on Cathedral from a 6-inch to an 8-inch, which I highly recommend. Prices varied from $861,273 for the low bid of APAC up to $1,740,730.
Wow.
That was from Nowak. So quite a range on there, which is pretty typical for what we see. But we had, less than 1% difference in our 2 lowest bidders between Middle Creek and APAC. So they were both hungry for work. APAC just nudged them out a little bit there. And then on part 2, we had 4 bidders. I wonder if I could. I'm not going to try and share my screen. That might complicate things more than we need to here. We had 4 bidders on the part 2 water tower improvements from Gerard Steel out of Concordia, McGuire Iron, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Caldwell Tanks out of Louisville, Kentucky, and Phoenix Fabricators out of Avon, Indiana. And the low bids range from $815,000 from the low bidder at Gerard Tank and Steel to a high bid of $976,436 from Phoenix Fabricators. So we have done projects in the past with Gerard Tank and Steel on ground tanks. They bid all the rest of them. I've got a comfort level with them too. They said some of the other ones they've done out in Western Kansas, when they do come up, they just finished up Jetmore. They're right in the middle of building one, getting it painted down in Otis. And then he said there's one going up over by the Rolling Hills Zoo by Salina that they're just starting to fabricate on too. So I think it's kind of neat that we got the guys in state on that one, kind of help keep the money in the state anyway. So I'm comfortable with both of them. And as far as how this works into budgeting purposes, my total opinion of cost on the amount of work we bid out was $160,000 more than what the bids came in. So that's a good thing. That means that we can take that grant money at the end and apply that to some other things we highlighted in the engineering report to make improvements on. So the way this funding is set up, you use all your loan money up first, and then you use your grant money at the end. So you want to try and utilize as much of that grant money as you can. It's kind of a use it or lose it. So we've identified other areas in town to make those improvements on and work with USDA, but that's the first step to be able to make those, is to be under budget on that. And that doesn't account for the $200,000 we have in contingency right now. So as we stand now, there's $360,000 between the contingency and the good bids that we're on the positive side on the project. So great news. I'm really happy with the bids. And as far as schedule comes in, they're both kind of looking at, APAC is looking at a September start. They were one that had requested a later start date because they're busy this summer. So I think you saw that better bid because we were flexible somewhat with them. And then the water tower side, they said they'd get in as soon as they could and work on the foundation, but they'd probably get the foundation done, and then their first steel erection team would come in around fall sometime, they thought, the way the schedule's coming out. And then they can't paint in the winter, so it'd probably be a springtime when they do the painting on it and turn it into service early spring. So that's kind of the background on what those guys felt on the schedules from both sides. We still have the water wells to get bid out. I'm working with that Ned Marks, a geologist, to get the water wells designed, and we'll get those bid out too. And then everything will really start taking shape in a hurry here. So, are there any questions before we kind of move into some action items here?
Are you going to start the water well this summer then?
Well, Harlan, it'll probably be next year by the time I get the design done, the review process done with KDHE and USDA and out to bid. It'll probably be a 2021 construction timeline on that one.
Okay.
Okay. Well, if there's no other questions on that or anything, what we need to do tonight, I sent Mary copies of notice of award. So we can do them separately. What I would recommend is to accept the low bid for part 1 of the Water System Improvements 2019 from APAC Kansas Inc., including the base bid and option 1 for a total of $861,273. And that needs to be contingent upon USDA approval.
Need a motion for that?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion.
Harland, and then
I'll second.
Zach. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody object? Okay.
And then the same thing on part 2. I recommend that you issue the notice of award to Gerard Tank and Steel of Concordia, Kansas, who presented the low bid for $815,000, contingent on USDA approval.
Also move.
I'll second.
Erica and then Harland. All in favor?
Aye.
Does anybody object? Dustin, you're still lagging.
Aye.
Okay, does that work for you, Mike?
Yeah, if you could get with Mary, I just need 5 originals of both of those forms. I did send a revised form this afternoon
Okay,
to correct a typo in the part
Okay.
1. But if you could send me 5 originals of each to the office, and then we'll put the contract documents together and start getting all the paperwork routed around. So,
okay, we will take care of that either tonight or tomorrow morning.
okay, perfect. Well, thank
Anything
you,
further?
everybody. I appreciate it, and thank you for accommodating us on the remote bid opening. So
We're all learning on this, is what I keep saying.
we are. So,
All right, thanks a lot, Mike.
thank
Thanks,
you.
Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, I'm gonna have Cole come up here and sit at this computer because I hear what you guys are talking about now with my microphone being terrible on my computer. So hold on just a second. Okay, so you want Brad to go?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, slight change of plans. Cole is waiting on a thing, so we will have Brad go first instead.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi, they're good
Hi,
looking.
Brad.
I guess updates, we're just getting our typical stuff rolling here, sewer jetting and patching a few streets and things like that. Everything's moving along just fine. Don't have any real issues at this point. I will bring up, I was going to talk about the pool Harlan brought up again earlier, but I have been checking around a little bit. It seems like everybody is kind of in a holding pattern at this point. which the thing to remember is whatever we decide, we need 2 to 3 weeks to get it completely up and running. We can't really do anything right now. It's one of those things, if we wash and clean, then you got to paint. If you paint, you got to fill it. So I don't know that we want to do that until we have a little better idea whether we're going to be able to open or not. Be a lot of wasted labor and dollars and materials if we don't open. So my suggestion at this point would be to just play it by ear, kind of see what turns out here in the next 2 weeks, and then try to make a decision by the next meeting.
Okay, Brad, have you ever got the generator?
Yes, generator is here.
Okay,
It's waiting on installation. We may have to change gears on that a little bit. The gentleman we had, which was a private electrical contractor, Chris Teeter, he has now went to work for a company, so he is very limited on what he does on the side. So I may have to resort back to like RB Electric or somebody like that to get it installed. But it is here. It is physically in the Quonset building. So
okay.
Brad, what do you think about the citywide cleanup? Do you think it's worth putting you guys down there?
you know, I can tell you that it's going to be necessary. We have been, since we postponed even the current one, we have been picking up probably another 4,000 to 6,000 pounds of trash every week in town. So I think if we don't do it, we're going to get really inundated with our normal Monday pickups.
Are you guys all set up with equipment and stuff, like protective equipment, to deal
Yes.
with being in that proximity with people?
We can keep that distance without any problem whatsoever.
Okay.
Essentially, we're going to be in the loader, and that's the way we'll just have to do it. If people have heavy stuff, they'll have to load it into the bucket of the loader, and we'll put it into dumpsters from there. So yes, we can distance, I believe, enough to be safe.
Okay, very good.
Any other questions for me or any other issues to address?
You'd mentioned concrete saw once before. What were you going to do with that?
Actually have only one bid to date. It's like $2,400. So I was kind of waiting to get a second bid and turn them in at that point and see what we're going to do. One of the things that we're looking at, and I know we have to wait for some budgeting and so forth, but they do make one for the front of a skid steer, which we've been talking about for several years. Jackhammer attachment, a saw attachment. So I think right now I'm pushing that off to see if we can't maybe build this into something that would be much more usable for the city.
Okay.
Anything else for me? All right.
Thank you, Brad.
Up to you.
Hey, is John still there? Yeah. Dustin's saying that he needs you to let him back into the meeting.
With cleanup being still scheduled, are we keeping the garage sale also still scheduled for the same time, or are we in a hold pattern on that too?
We had the garage sale scheduled for May 30th, that same weekend.
Depending
That's up in
on,
the-
April
Yeah, depending
30th?
on how it goes, yeah.
April 3rd, yeah.
No, May 30th.
May.
May 30th. That's when the cleanup is.
I thought the citywide garage sale was the 25th and 26th, or this coming weekend.
No,
It
we
was.
changed it.
Right.
They rescheduled it.
The garage sale would all be up. That's all up to the individual.
Mhm.
I mean, we can't stop somebody from having a garage sale. Maybe
No,
we
but
could,
we
but
We
But
probably
the
don't want to
citywide
promote
garage
it
sale,
though.
we rescheduled, yes. Nobody had signed up anyway.
okay.
Y'all set for me?
Yeah. Are you set?
Okay. Am I on camera or not?
You're good,
Yeah,
Cole.
we can hear you.
I guess first thing, the car, it's still treating us well, knock on wood. I'm gonna continue what I've been doing as far as nursing it along, if everybody's okay with that and comfortable with it. So we'll just push it off and try to, I guess if we have to run it in the ground, we'll do that. We don't get anything out of them anyway. If it was a truck, I'd think a little differently about it because of the valuation difference. Summertime uniforms, we'll go through those, see if there's anything we need to just order up, and a lot of times we need to get just simple things like shirts, not so much pants all the time. So little less on the money there. The COVID PPE equipment, we have just gotten a little bit of a shipment in from emergency management. We are not covering that cost as the city or the department. So things like our masks, the gloves. So we're taking precautions there. If we have to go into a home where there's going to be people shoulder to shoulder, we'll have that stuff to put on. Just understand the public at times may view that as there is a case if they see us walking in with a mask or gloves. If there is a case that we know of, we would definitely contact City Hall immediately and John to let everybody know what's going on.
You have
So-
the suits also?
We don't have the suits, but we have individuals that do have them if we need to go that route. So
Okay.
if it's a situation where we think there could be something for sure, or there's rumor, we're not going to step into it without that proper equipment. So
Will you contact the health department when you
Yeah.
do go in? Okay.
You have to.
we have
You have to.
right. We have a network of individuals we deal with. I take meetings weekly, sometimes multiple times a week on this. So we're very much staying up to date on it. And everything as far as the governor's orders go. We're still at that 10 people or more situation. For the most part, town's been pretty good about it. We don't have a lot of concerns that are coming in. As much the biggest concerns we're getting is probably like anyone else. It's stuff coming off of the interstate, out of state plates, out of county plates from certain areas that have had cases. But it's more or less, it's not so much, I think this person has this, it's just the concerns. What can we do about this? Is there, typical things that the public's going to call on when it comes to something like this. Unless anybody has any questions on that, we'll move on.
Any concerns with the kids getting together to play basketball or stuff like that?
We get a call every now and then, but when we do go by, I'm speaking for Ryan, unless he has any other, he's claiming he doesn't have any other concerns, but we do drive by the parks. If we feel there's a gathering in a backyard or at the parks or anything like that where they're rubbing up on each other or too close, we will make that contact and just educate them on it.
Okay. Very good.
And
Thank you.
As far as enforcement goes, for state law and things like that, we're very, very much prioritizing what we handle. So it's not going to be the typical, okay, I see this, I'm going to dive in right away. We kind of have to assess the importance of it. So keep that in mind as well. The jail is also trying to keep as many individuals out of incarceration as they possibly can for the safety of their own employees. So it doesn't mean that we're not going to make arrests. It doesn't mean that we're not going to cite or charge someone for a crime. It just means that the way we handle it may be a little more limited than in the past and what we normally do, just to keep everybody safe for the time being. You do have around the area, not in Victoria as much, but you do have around the area people taking advantage of that because they understand the precautions law enforcement's taking. But as of right now, we're trucking along like good old Victoria does, and we don't see the issues that these other places are. everybody around here has been pretty good. So I've got nothing bad to say there.
Good.
And what I typically report this time of year, mowing and cleanup notices. I'm glad to hear we will have the citywide cleanup because we can kind of push for dates, for timelines, deadlines for the citywide cleanup weekend. We'll be issuing a lot of mow notices like we always do. So if you drive around town, you see some shaggy places, we've probably made that contact already, and there's going to be a time frame we have to allot. It's typically 10 days. And that notice has to be delivered via certified mail or has to be hand delivered face to face to those people to get that started. So Mary helps me out with that a lot as far as the mailers go. Otherwise, we have door knocker cards and phone calls we make. If you do have concerns about certain properties, by all means, let us know. And we can tell you if we have dealt with that or not. But it is that time of year. I'll turn it over for the last thing to Ryan. He has been doing some research on the changes Taser has made. Our units are the first generation for law enforcement. They're very outdated. We no longer have the resources anymore. They're not backing them on these units. The county has gone through the second generation, and they're moving on to this third generation now. So that's what everybody's telling us to go to. The unfortunate part is the cost difference from the first time we bought, which I don't even know how long ago that was now. It's been quite a while. I think we were paying right at about $1,000 a unit. They've drastically gone up, so hang on to your chairs for that shocker. But Ryan's got a program that they introduced to him that can save us cost in the long run. It can also provide us with the cartridges for training. We don't have to pay for that anymore unless, well, everything's getting paid, but it's just going to be in a simpler way. So I will stress that it is a tool that I think keeps us out of a lot of liability. It is a non-lethal tool. And so anytime we can take a volatile situation and calm it down with something like that versus pulling a 9mm pistol is always a good thing. So the cost of this versus the cost of civil litigation and everything that comes with a lethal weapon is very much, this is a good thing. So I'll let him take care of it.
Hey, Cole, before
Mike.
you go,
Yep.
that property down here on Hickory that we got on a few months back about all the junk in the backyard,
You're talking about,
Joel, I think his name is.
yes. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Feel like it's maybe getting a little out of hand again.
Yeah, it's that warm time again where he's moving things out, and yeah, we'll reassess that. But I have noticed that. But yeah, I'll get back to you on that as soon as we make a contact.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right, pretty much what we have is two options. The new Taser that's coming out is called the Taser 7. We're currently running the Taser X26. And Taser pretty much recommends that you replace your Taser every 5 years on a 5-year cycle. And I think we're probably minimum 10.
Yeah, we're at minimum. I mean, we've got more than 10 on these.
So we've definitely got our money out of them. They basically offer two plans. The first plan is kind of the all-inclusive plan. It comes out to $3,600 per Taser, and we'd like to get 3 of them for a total of $10,260. What that plan includes is your Taser, your holster, your charging dock, rechargeable batteries, your evidence license to log all that. And if we have a deployment, instead of having to use the sheriff's department's resources, we can plug our Tasers into our evidence license. And then if somebody comes back and, tries to say that we shocked them for 20 seconds instead of the standard 5. We can produce that information right there. The all-inclusive one has the online training content that they give us access to. And then the big thing is they provide all your training and duty cartridges for 5 years on all 3 tasers. You can either, on that 10,000, you can either pay it up all up front, or you can split it up over a 5-year payment plan. Just make a payment every year, which that comes out to, the first year would be $1,600, and then every year after that would be $2,160. The second plan is kind of the a la carte plan. Again, we don't get quite as much on this. We get the taser, the holster, the charging dock, 1 rechargeable battery. We still get the evidence license in the same 5-year warranty. The thing that could hurt us on this is they don't cover replacement batteries, and you have to buy all the taser cartridges that you're going to need for your first year to qualify with it, which it's 8 per taser. So we'd need 24 for the first year just to qualify on it. And it looks like, what we got here? The training cartridges are $49, and the duty cartridges, the live ones, are $38 a piece. So we'd have, I figured up $1,800 to $2,000 total for the 5-year plan. If we went the a la carte method, and that comes out to $7,200 just for the tasers without the cartridges. So, and I guess if we paid that off over the 5 years, it'd be $1,400 per year.
And that doesn't include you being able to back up the taser in the second plan?
No, the second plan does include the evidence license, so we would still have that same resource. The main thing we lose out on the second plan is the online training, which I don't know if that's really such a big deal because we go through the sheriff's department for our taser training. Yeah, I guess the whole COVID deal, that could, I guess we'd have to see how that plays out before that could hurt us. And then the difference, like I said, the main difference between the 2 plans is your, and he did say if, for the more expensive plan, if we do discharge a taser cartridge in the performance of a duty, they would replace that right away. There would be no additional cost on that. So unfortunately, though, we don't have a whole lot of taser deployments. So it's kind of, I don't know, it might be about a wash by the time we purchased all the cartridges. And then if we have a couple batteries go down, we might be money ahead going with the more expensive plan now, but it's, it's just kind of hard to tell.
But you said on the a la carte one, plan 2 or whatever, you would have to buy the cartridges?
Yes.
And that'd be about $1,800 to $2,000?
Yes, for the whole 5-year plan. That's kind of what I figured out.
And that's assuming the cost doesn't go up in 4 years.
Yes.
Or we don't use them a lot.
Yeah, and the nice thing with the more expensive plan, they just send you out the cartridges every year. So they don't ship us 5 years worth of cartridges right away. We make our yearly payment. They send the cartridges out we need for that training year. They'll replace any duty cartridges.
You can explain the expiration dates on them too.
Yeah, and like kind of a current problem we have now, or we did have, we're kind of running out on our X26 taser cartridges. They're only guaranteed, or guaranteed might not be the right word, warranted through taser for so long. So we have cartridges now, I think from 2013s that we can't use for duty use. So we have to use them for live training use. So that's another thing we gotta look at. I mean, it probably wouldn't be best to buy 5 years worth of cartridges all at once because we might get in that same bind.
How much is a replacement battery?
About $120 currently.
How long do they last normally?
Depends on usage.
Just totally dependent on usage. You're supposed to spark check your taser every time you're come on the duty. I don't do that because that does eat up your battery. they only have so many spark tests and usage. I would maybe say a year, 9 months.
A year with very little
Yeah.
use. I mean, now once we go through training on them, when we use them for training, we're doing a lot of training cartridge deployments. You could use up 15% battery life just in one training. So it's hard to say. It all depends on the usage. Nobody can really predict that.
So if you're looking at 3 batteries, just say they last a year times 5 years, that's $1,800 in 5 years. You're up to 10,000 on that a la carte plan.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Anyway,
I really think, I mean, it's going to be pretty close to the same probably either way you split it. But I mean, if we have good luck and don't have to replace batteries, we might be a little bit of money ahead, but if we have bad luck too, we might.
The thing I see with the big purchase plan there is we're going to have peace of mind. They're going to back us on everything. We aren't going to sit here with cartridges that are expired shelf life that we can't use, but we purchased, so now we're out of the money. And that's kind of the situation we've been in. It's hard to determine, well, how many of these do I buy? I can't tell you if I'm going to use 2 of them next week or 1 of them in the next 4 months. So with them providing us with these cartridges, so many a year, plus the batteries when we need them, it's going to take a lot of that luck of predicament out of this for us. So it's kind of like the management goes to them in it. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but from our seats looking at it, it seems like a pretty good situation versus trying to pick this apart and hoping we come out ahead.
and then if we go with the all-inclusive, after 5 years, we'd still be able to possibly purchase cartridges and batteries separately to continue if we
Yes.
don't redo it again.
Yes. And it sounds like, from my understanding from speaking with him, after that 5 years, they're probably going to be trying to push you to get the next newest and greatest, but obviously we wouldn't have to do that at that time. And then we could just continue on and try to, get as much life out of them as we could.
So you would pay them up for the first 5 years per year, and then after that, the next 5 years, you really wouldn't be paying for anything.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
Other than your cartridges that you would use, but
Yeah.
And keep in mind also, we tend to not make any changes on equipment unless the sheriff's office wants to do that. In the past, they've always been our training hosts. They at no cost to us. So we aren't sitting here looking for another agency that may want to help us out, or we have to pay them for their time. They just basically take us in as a department of their own. And so over the years, they've saved us a lot of money. And that's a lot of the reason why we're wanting to upgrade now. Not so much because Taser has basically done away with the models we have. It's if we want the luxury of being able to intertwine all of our equipment together and with the sheriff's office, who is our biggest help. And then we are also their help as well. So it benefits them when we have the same equipment they have. So that's why we're wanting to do all this right now.
And that was kind of the nice thing. When they went to the 26P is what they currently have. The X26 and 26P are still fairly close to where we can kind of cross-train. The Taser 7 and the Taser 26 or even the 26P are just, it's a totally different Taser. It's set up or entirely different. So it's just kind of an entirely different animal. So they would really have to run their guys through the Taser 7 class and then run us through the Taser 26 class, which would probably be asking a lot since they just do it out of the goodness of their heart.
Yeah, we're basically asking them to put more time in at no cost to us to get us qualified on the tools we currently have. Now with them going to these new models, which is what we're proposing, we're all going to be on the same page again. And it just makes life a lot easier for everyone, cost and equipment wise.
Current tasers for about 10 years.
Yeah, we've probably easily had them for 10 years, I'd say.
Has Ellis County maintained theirs for the last 10 years as well, or did they upgrade at some point?
They upgraded in the middle of that. They probably did the 5-year. And so they're, like we were saying, they have a totally different model than us. And so like Ryan was saying, when we go do trainings, they certify us on ours, which is a completely different model. So
Right.
we're asking a little extra on them. And now that those are put to the wayside by Taser, they can't even get us parts for them anymore. So
So every 5 years, they pretty much upgrade.
that's the way it looks.
Yeah, that's kind of the way it's been going.
So if we go with the 5-year deal with the plan 1 or whatever, and in 5 years, Ellis County decides to upgrade, we could potentially buy any excess cartridges they may have in stock then at a lower price maybe?
Well, and that's kind of what we did with the ones we have now. The Highway Patrol, I kind of mooched off of them, if that's what you want to say. Things that they had laying around, I would take their stuff because they aren't going to get any money for all that. So I'd steal their cartridges from them, and we would just use those as training. Or if some of them still had good shelf life, we'd put them into use for duty. But so we kind of scrape and scrounge like that. And that's what we've done over the last 5 years. And the sheriff's office as well. They held on to a lot of their stuff just for that reason. So agencies like us, or maybe Ellis, if they needed it, we could still use that. But it's not to say we would come saying, 5 years down the road, let's upgrade these units. If they're still good and we can get parts and service, we'll keep them in service then, just like the last ones.
I think it's a good thing to upgrade, considering the fact if you guys are on the same call together and it gets filed and something happens to one of the other officers, you can grab their taser or their extra cartridge and pop it into yours if needed. Or if they upgraded and we didn't, then
yes, that's the same thing we've done with like the pistols, going to the 9mm. We're all compatible with each other. So.
Was the Highway Patrol updating too?
I have not talked to any troopers. I'm not for sure what they're currently carrying. They're usually ahead of the sheriff's department, to be right honest with you.
Okay.
So if the sheriff's department's going to them, I'm gonna just assume that they might already have them. I don't know. I haven't talked to any troopers.
I don't know either.
What they're currently running.
So if we go with plan 1, what's the best route for the payment? Do we pay it all at one lump sum, or do you recommend we break it up? Maybe that's a question for Eric or Mary.
Well, yeah, that on the money end of things, I think that's best left leaving us out. So we're gonna let John talk here.
Why wouldn't we just pay for it every year?
Yeah, I would say if it doesn't cost us any more to break it up over 5 years, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Okay. So is that what you guys want to do? You want to do plan 1, split up over 5-year payment?
Yeah,
what
that's
I'm
what
hearing.
I feel. Yeah.
It
Dustin?
doesn't cost any more to split up?
No, the cost is the same. There's no additional fees for doing the 5-year plan on it.
Okay, then do we have a motion to that effect? Option 1's paid over 5 years. Ryan, was that a motion?
Yes, sir.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
All right.
Anybody object? I can't see everybody right now. Sorry.
Oh, I'm good. Yeah.
Good.
Hey, Mayor.
Okay. That good for you guys?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, guys. Okay. On to old business. City Hall update. Guys, I gotta be honest. Let's skip this until next month and hope that we're together.
I like that.
You guys are ready?
I had a lot of questions on it, okay?
it's going to be more complicated to do it this way. Let's just hope that, yeah, let's just move on off of that. Okay, new business. We've had an issue with some tree trimmers causing damage in town. And so the question is, do you guys want to make tree trimmers get licensed by the city?
I'm all for it.
I don't see why not.
I'm for it.
Same, I can't, can anyone think of any cons? I mean, why we wouldn't?
Only limiting options, but having a small community, something like that, I don't know that you'd get a bunch to register.
Don, is there a legal issue with having us force tree trimmers?
I wouldn't assume so. I don't know for sure.
Is that something you could look into
We're not
and
gonna
then report back to us?
charge them.
Sure, let me look at it, but I mean, it's just like any other business.
Brad said Hayes, Russell, Great Bend, they all have their tree trimmers licensed.
Okay, well,
Is that good enough for you, Don?
that gives me 3 ordinances to copy.
At least you're honest. So am I hearing that's what you guys want to do? Have Don drop an ordinance for our next meeting?
Yeah.
Yep.
Anybody opposed to that?
Yes.
Dustin, was that an opposing view, or are you just lagging again?
No, I'm in favor.
Okay.
Who made
Okay.
the motion?
Okay. Well, we can do the motion next month when Don gives us the ordinance.
Okay.
Okay, next item, park closing. The city of Hayes, 3 or 4 weeks ago, already fenced off all of their playground equipment. Now that we have COVID cases in Ellis County, I think we probably ought to go ahead and do the same thing.
Hey, Ryan,
Yeah.
with you living across from the park, do you notice a lot of kids,
I
a
would-
lot of activity?
I was going to say that I don't notice a whole lot of activity going on over there. And I mean, granted, I'm not here all the time, but last week I worked from home, and during the afternoon I'd go out there and take breaks and sit out there. There wasn't a whole lot of people there. Over the weekend, I was watching a little bit too on Saturday, for instance. It didn't seem to be a major issue. So I just don't see, I would rather not close it. It gives the kids something to do. I mean, there's not an abundant amount of people going there. So if they are going there, like Cole said, and there's a lot of people, they can stop in there. They can reiterate the social distancing rules to the people that are there. But I just don't feel the need to close it right now.
If we did close the parks, John, would you only block off play equipment, or would you close down the tennis courts and the basketball court?
I would think the standard that Hayes and Ellis County have done is you block off the playground equipment. The grassy areas, as they say, remain open.
That would only apply to the city park, right? Like, we don't have any control over school park.
I emailed Mr. Michael at the school to see if they'd be in favor of doing this. He must not be at work today because he did not get back to me. I emailed him on Saturday. I should have done it last week. Sorry about that. I haven't heard back from him. But yes, if we would close our park, I would ask that they close their park as well.
I guess the other thing, you got to put it back on the parents as well to enforce, some sort of restrictions towards the kids as well. If the parents don't want them there, they don't send their kids there. And it's just, I don't know. I just feel like we got to put some responsibility back on them as well.
So do we want to just leave this in Cole's hands since Cole is our health officer?
I would say for this month, okay?
What does Cole think? Is he still there?
I think so.
Yeah, he's here.
He's coming. I can hear footsteps.
I don't have a problem with whatever you guys decide. So, like I said, for right now, the load's been light when it comes to that. Just a little education here and there. And nobody wants to be the one that everybody's poking a finger at when it comes to something like this. So if you show up and you tell them, hey, these are the rules, we can long form charge you with disorderly conduct or an unlawful assembly. It doesn't mean we're going to arrest them and carry them away. We just explain it to them like that. 99.9% of the time, people are going to go somewhere else. So I don't see a problem at this time if we just want to monitor it through this month and then reassess it next month. That's up to you guys. So
I'd be fine
Let's
with
just go for a month and see what happens, okay?
All right. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Next item, we have a couple appointments to the fire department. Don, do we have to do these separately or can we do them both together?
You can do them together.
Okay. Can I get a motion to appoint Sean Royer and Kevin McCush to the fire department, please?
Make the motion.
Brian, and who was the second one?
Zach.
Brian, then Zach, all in favor? Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Our software for the city is done through CIC. And it is time for this agreement to be, well, renewed, I guess. And Mary, as far as I know, it's the only software that works for us. Is that right?
Well, I don't want to change.
What was the dollar amount again? Do you remember?
I think it's on
1,000 some.
payables. Yeah, it's $4,930.
Does anybody have a problem with us doing this again?
And that's upkeep on our systems.
We can
Yes.
call them for help as much as we want for that amount of money.
And believe me, the past 6 months, we used them a lot. Jerry Schmidberger and I got very good at contacting those people. So, it's just in the payables. Do we need to make a motion on that, Don, or not?
Yes.
Okay, motion to approve the annual software agreement with CIC.
Also move.
Erica, second. Ryan, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Very good. Okay. Is there anybody from the public here? James, Nancy,
I'm here.
any comments?
No, thank you.
Okay.
I'm good here.
All right, thanks, James. I got nothing, guys.
Well, thank you for putting.
Good
it all
idea,
together.
John. Good idea.
Which part?
Zoom. Zoom works.
I
I
think
hope
this
so.
is the fourth Zoom I've been on the last 2 weeks.
It's the only way I see my grandkids.
Yeah,
3 months ago, anybody ever heard of Zoom? Because I hadn't,
I hadn't either. No.
but it is a good program for the times we are in.
Yes, it is.
All right, if there's no further business, I would entertain a motion to dismiss.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
and I'll second it.
Zach and then Harlan, all in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Motion carries. Thank you, guys. Hang on 1 second.